The old van rattled down the dirt road, 5 friends inside, laughter fading as they neared Camp Crystal Lake. Liam gripped the wheel, eager to film something truly scary. Maya, camera in hand, watched the pine trees close in, the woods growing darker. A rusty sign, Camp Crystal Lake, swung in the breeze, its creak the only sound. Liam killed the engine. Silence pressed in, unnatural and heavy. The group stepped out. The air was colder than spring should allow. Josh stretched, forcing a laugh. "Spooky," he said, voice too loud. Chloe eyed the empty cabins, whispering to Ben, "I don't like this." Ben tried to reassure her, but his gaze lingered on the shadows. The main gate was chained, but a gap in the fence let them slip inside. The camp was a ghost. Flagpole bare, collapsed canoe, everything coated in pine needles and decay. It didn't just feel empty, it felt abandoned in a hurry. The memory of something terrible seemed to stain the air. They moved forward, unease growing with every step. The forest felt like it was holding its breath. They were not just visitors, they were trespassers. And the silence was a warning. Liam tried to lighten the mood, filming their arrival. "We've made it to the infamous Camp Crystal Lake," he announced. Josh joked with a ghostly woo-oo-oo, but the silence swallowed it. Maya suggested splitting up for footage before dark. Josh and Chloe took the main hall. Ben and Maya headed for the cabins. Liam filmed the lake. Chloe hesitated, not wanting to be alone, but Josh pulled her along. "Maybe we'll find treasure," he joked, but his smile was thin. Their figures vanished into the shadows. Liam focused on his shot, the lake reflecting the dying sun. Ben and Maya's path was buried in leaves, each step echoing. Maya filmed the decaying cabins, doors hanging open, beds overturned. It looked like people had fled in panic. Ben felt a chill. This wasn't just an abandoned camp. It was someone's nightmare, still lingering. The deeper they explored, the more the camp's darkness pressed in. The fun was gone, replaced by dread. Something unseen watched from the woods. Inside the first cabin, dust and dampness choked the air. Ben's flashlight revealed torn beds, spiderwebs, and a child's teddy bear face down in the dirt. Maya filmed, unsettled. "Imagine being a kid here," she whispered. Ben's hand found deep scratches gouged into the wood. 3 parallel lines, over and over. Some were fresh, the wood pale beneath. "Maya, look," Ben said, voice tight. She traced the marks, feeling a cold certainty. They were being watched. She scanned the shadows. Nothing but dust and darkness. "Let's get out," she whispered. They stepped outside, but the feeling of being watched clung to them. The forest's gaze was cold, full of malice. They were intruders now. The camp's wounds were fresh, and so was its hunger. Every step away from the cabin felt like trespassing deeper into danger. The woods seemed to close in. The sense of being hunted grew. They hurried back toward the others. Liam stood at the lake's edge, filming the dark woods across the water. The silence pressed in, broken only by his shaky breath. He zoomed in. Something moved in the shadows. A tall, still silhouette stood between the pines. It turned its head, looking straight at him. Liam's heart pounded. This was no animal. A glint, white mask, blank and emotionless. The figure watched, unmoving, a silent threat. Liam froze, terror rooting him in place. The masked shape stepped back, melting into the darkness. Liam stared at the empty space. The image burned into his mind. The stories were true. The ghost of Crystal Lake was real. Liam's fear was no longer just for the camera. He turned and ran, desperate to warn the others. The nightmare had begun. Liam burst from the trees, breathless, panic in his eyes. "We have to go," he gasped to Maya and Ben. "There's someone here, in the woods, a man in a mask." Before he could say more, Chloe's scream split the air. They ran toward the mess hall, calling for Josh and Chloe. The sun was gone. Shadows stretching across the camp. The mess hall door swung open. No sign of their friends. Chloe, Josh. Only the wind replied. Fear gripped them. They were separated, hunted. The adventure had become a nightmare. The forest was a trap, and they were prey. The watcher in the woods was real, and it was closing in. Every shadow hid a threat. The game had started, and they were already losing. They huddled together, desperate for a plan. The silence was broken only by their pounding hearts. Survival was all that mattered now. Was no longer a refuge, it was a trap. The scraping circled the cabin, relentless. Maya spotted a trap door. There's a crawl space. They worked in frantic silence, prying it open. The banging on the door grew violent. The killer was breaking in. Chloe, Maya, and Liam slipped into the darkness. Ben followed as the door burst open. The masked man entered, axe in hand, searching. Ben pulled the trapdoor shut as heavy boots stomped above. They crawled through the dirt, the killer's footsteps tracking them. Suddenly the axe smashed through the floorboards, inches from Liam. Panic erupted. They scrambled forward, desperate for escape. The killer tore the cabin apart above them. Every blow drove them faster through the crawl space. The darkness was suffocating, but hope lay ahead. They moved blindly, driven by terror. The sound of destruction faded as they neared the exit. Freedom was close, but so was death. They burst out into the night. They ran to the lake, no plan, just escape. The forest hemmed them in, the killer was behind. An old boat waited at the end of a rotting dock. Ben and Liam fought with the rope as Maya and Chloe climbed in. A twig snapped, the masked figure appeared, moving slowly onto the dock. Liam freed the boat. Ben shoved off as the killer lunged, grabbing the boat's edge. The boat tipped. Chloe fell into the freezing water. Ben dove in after her, pulling her up. The killer flipped the boat, tossing Maya and Liam into the lake. Chaos. Cold. Darkness. Panic. Maya surfaced, gasping. Liam was gone. The masked man vanished into the shadows. The lake swallowed their screams. The killer didn't need to chase them anymore. The water was as deadly as the woods. Survival was slipping away. Maya awoke on the muddy shore, alone, soaked, and aching. The sun rose weakly over a silent camp. No sign of her friends, the boat, or the killer. She called their names. No answer. Was it all a nightmare? She clung to the hope. She staggered to the van, keys still in the ignition. Relief flooded her as the engine roared to life. She drove away, not looking back. On the road, she checked her phone, cracked, but working. She scrolled through last night's videos, ready to delete them. One last video, shaky footage of the woods. The masked figure visible. It was real. All of it. In the rearview mirror, a flicker of white appeared in the back seat. Camp Crystal Lake never lets go. The nightmare wasn't over. The silence followed her home. Some stories never end, and some monsters never